history of life, then death. Someday, when you belong to the sands, you'll know the desert voyage towards the sea, its calligraphy of the world, its return to a cave where a shepherd sings of the city. All your buildings pale before sunrise, moving away from the desert. All your buildings silent, waiting for the desert to speak into night, to speak even the secret of water. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, if you can, give us the shorter poems, eh? Professor Adekoya, you're next. One poem.
All right. Before I read the poem, I would just like to say one or two words on what poetry means to me. Poetry is music language. In fact, it's been said that poets are failed musicians. What we're trying to do in poetry is to make language attain the beauty of expression that you find in music. So you have the poetry of words, and then you have the poetry of life. Unfortunately, human beings are yet to understand the poetry of life, the beauty that surrounds us, which we do not appreciate. And I think the romantic poets have said a lot about that. And I think there's also the poetry of nature. So basically what we are trying to do is to use language to create rhythm, to create beauty. That is what, essentially for me, poetry means.
Thank you very much.
Now, the poem is titled The Objective Poet. The Objective Poet. Poetry has to do with feelings, emotions. The poet writes because, he is overwhelmed with emotion and then tries to trap that emotion in metaphor, in images, and all of that. Now, when you have an objective poet, a scientific poet, what kind of poetry are you going to get? It goes thus. Head, high like Aso Rock, on a neck decked with beads of seasoned sterile seeds. Hands, fat with scientific facts, lift a flaming freedom flag, flailing lone mock daring deeds. The rational poet impales passion and crucifies curiosity on columns that crushed wormy ancestral caryatids. His lip never sleeps in sleep. His hands never shake if awake. His heartbeat never leaps in love. He pokes all holes of creation and sees all slits of construction with peeps of world-warring rights. His clear mind clean like a glittering sharp knife, the bleached butter of life. Paradox splits not its peace, confusion contorts not its thoughts, madness maim not its motion, irony irons out lion's paws, metonymy melts truth of troops, metaphors force morals into metals, but oxymoron morphs Solomons into morons, as sin turns assessors into assassins. Onomatopoeia sticks pluck pair of onomastics. Baited by bears of frigid reason, emotion thaws the block of treason and runs to hide in freedom. Purged, perfect poetic forks into rights and wrongs, and his peasant songs fall, popped with futile ping-pong fights. It passes over a great gray veil, green with vegetation vision that lies to harness the harvest that dies. This is the sweet sour song, sung all over ice lyrical fields, fecund with myth, matter, and their dung. What is poetry empty of passion, but a poor period passing fashion, broken bird with only one wing, flapping to disturb dust with wing, reed of dark riddle, void of voice, that coils on tin foils to ring? Such is the tale of a cold that no pen can ever hold, atomic logic that kills like arsenic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Ushi.
Hi.
Yes, please.
Okay. I read a very, very short one.
Thank you, sir.
Page 55. The title is Birthdays. Birthdays are dialects at which syllable boundaries the celebrant looks backward and looks forward. On its every birthday, the crocodile swallows a pebble. On its every birthday, the antelope reviews the direction of his horn. On their birthdays, the belching assess their seasons in mass of wives, mistresses, money, and mansions. On their birthdays, legends count the yawning in whose lives, as marble, they have carved their legacies.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for him, please. Professor Emiraji.
Thank you very much. This is a poem that almost never got read. Generations on Burning Stick. That's page 20, we have the collection. Last night, Lekki became our Marikana. The tears of blood heavy on the national flag, fueled by echoes of pain. The patriots sat down quietly, accepting the bullets bought by their own family vat, and then the deniers of deaths and destructions. Some killings are not counted. Some are televised in prime time. Some never known. In our days, we were the children of the Commonwealth. We were the flickering lights of the colony. What we disbelieved, we gave a name. What we did not believe, we did not confront. We wrote beautiful poems about ugly things. Maroko, Odi, Koko, Maitasine, Zango Kataf, OIC, SAP, JC, we shall come. Someday, someday, we shall overcome. We chorus through decades of dark nights lit by bonfires. Yesterday, we queued for wind and bubbles. We waited for rations that never arrived. These ones will not wait nor faint for palliatives. This generation, more resilient than the baobab tree, these ones moving, these ones refusing, these ones questioning, these ones tweeting, these ones swearing. Tomorrow, these ones will not be cowed. Yet, there are more murderers of dreams and kidnappers of our faith now than yesterday. The mystic air blows ominously. We are up. We are up. The sirens are up. Each suffocating day, the sirens are up. Our farmyards burn. The militia grow like mushrooms. We are up. We are up. We are up. Every man is a weapon unto himself. The end is certain, but the end is not certain. Amen.
Thank you. Very powerful poem. Not short, but very powerful. Obari.
Yeah, so this is a very short poem, and the title is The Walker. I work for the devil now. It sounded as if he was discussing a new hobby. It sounded as if he was discussing a preference for coffee or tea. I work for the devil now. Silence filled the small room. For once we thought he was pulling a stunt with words. Silence seized the small room. I work for the devil now. I have lived a strategic life for years. Do you believe I work for God and country and the common good? None of us had a response. Darkness fell fast on everything. We were stunned beyond our tongues. None of us had a response. Do you believe that?
I once thought so too, but with all this blood on my hands, I have to come clean about this. I work for the devil now. He was to go back to the front. He was lost to the politics of war. He was lost to the war of politics. He knew the horrors he knew. So he said what he had to say. I work for the devil now. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello. Okay. This is Sailing on a Sea of Stars, page 95. I'm going to do a slight adaptation of it. It's a poem of hope for several people: Rofia, Amara, Servio, Victor, and all of us indeed. So it starts with a song that is short, and then I'll read the prayer, and we'll end it with the song. So I'll just need you to repeat after me. It's very fast. I'm sailing on a sea of stars.
Sailing on the sea of stars.
A bit louder. I mean, it's a poem of hope, not sadness. I'm sailing on a sea of stars.
I'm sailing on the sea of stars.
To lands that are far.
Lands that far.
And the moon smiles.
And the moon smiles.
And every darkness is forgotten.
And every darkness is forgotten.
Okay, let's take it again, very quickly. I'm sailing on a sea of stars.
I'm sailing on the sea of stars.
To lands that are far.
The
Lands that are far.
And the moon smiles.
And the moon smiles.
And every darkness is forgotten.
And every darkness is forgotten.
And this is the prayer, that when the time comes, the fires will be snuffed to smoke, tales told of all that once was, even as we shot our souls in flight to the heavens. And though the troubles in Nigeria and everywhere brew strong, we see God's hands, and we know that they are long enough to destroy everything that is wrong. So this evening, and even in the days to come, even if it is for one moment, we'll forget every torment, we'll raise our voice in songs, and we'll forget the noise, because we're sailing on a sea of stars.
We're sailing on the sea of stars.
To lands that are far.
To lands that are far.
And the moon smiles.
And the moon smiles.
And every darkness is forgotten.
And every darkness is forgotten.
For the last time we're sailing on the sea of stars.
We're sailing on the sea of stars.
To lands that are far.
To lands that are far.
And the moon smiles.
And the moon smiles.
And every darkness is forgotten.
And every darkness is forgotten.
God save us all.
Amen.
So we can all keep smiling. Loving, loving you. Loving you is to awaken. Loving, loving you. Loving you is to awaken. Loving you is to awaken to the smell of fresh blooms, lilies, roses, chrysanthemums, daffodils, It is the most redolent potpourri, lavender, jasmine, vanilla, lemon. It is to lie hour after hour in rose bush, bud within bud, stalk within my petals. It is to be pricked by the thorns of your rose, and yet be made simultaneously whole by its stunning, breathtaking pain. Loving you is to rejoice in meetings, however seldom. It is to know your endings from the first sentence. It is to be irrevocably your poem and song, as you are the meanings of words yet to be formed in my head. Loving you is breathing the air you exhale. Though we be hundreds of miles apart, it is communion, sacred, ritual, haloed in the innermost recesses of being, spirits. We soar beyond Earth's transient boundaries. We are the products and pledges of a time past and yet to come. Loving you is to slow burn, fragment and clinker. As the coalescence of your every verse, you are timeless lyric. Lyric sung one time and again by lips imprisoned to yours, lips unable to kiss another, for you are the shadow I glean off every other. Loving you is the ultimate oxymoron, the sweet pain of surrender and climax. It is fatal recognition. No morning after pill exists for you. Loving you is panacea defying this irresistible ailment, for you are both deadly virus and elusive elixir. Loving you is to die in fragments and awaken whole. Loving you. Loving you is to awaken. Loving you. Loving you is to awaken.
They have set
Thank
this room
you.
on fire. Whew. No pressure.
Am I the
Go on,
next
please.
person?
Yes.
After Ikwo.
You are next. Sorry.
I was going to read something I thought was profound. But not after that. Let me read Heart's Whisper, page 87. These days, I carry you inside of me.